My name is Margaret Ellison. I am 67 years old. It had been 2 years since my daughter last spoke to me. The silence between us had settled into something heavy but familiar, like a locked drawer I no longer tried to open. That morning, while I was folding laundry, the phone rang. Her name flashed on the screen. "Hi, Mom," Rachel said, her voice careful, almost practiced. "I'm in Boston for work. Maybe we could meet. I'd like to make things right." The words didn't sound like hers, but I agreed before my heart could catch up. I packed a small suitcase that evening and took the early train the next morning. The rhythm of the rails was oddly calming. I watched the landscape blur past the fields, the faded towns, the thin winter light, and tried not to imagine what she wanted. By the time I reached Boston, dusk had already turned the harbor gray. I checked into the Harborview Hotel, an old building with brass elevators and the faint scent of sea salt in the air. The young receptionist smiled when I handed her my ID, but the smile faltered. She glanced at the screen, then at me, as if she were reading something she wished she hadn't. "Is everything all right?" I asked softly. "Ma'am, there's been a suspicious check-in under your name. Please stay in your room and lock the door. Don't let anyone in until we verify it." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. Her hands trembled as she slid my keycard across the counter. "Don't tell anyone I said that," she whispered. I nodded slowly, too startled to question her. Years of teaching had taught me how to stay composed when the world around me lost balance. I tucked the key into my purse, thanked her, and walked toward the elevator, the sound of the harbor wind following me inside. Whatever had brought me here, it was no longer just about reconciliation. The room smelled faintly of disinfectant and new paint, the kind of scent that covers everything but comfort. I set my suitcase on the bed and turned on the small desk lamp. Its light fell on the framed print of a ship in fog, too clean, too staged. The quiet pressed around me until I could hear my own pulse. I unpacked slowly, letting order calm me. My webcam sat at the bottom of the bag, wrapped in a handkerchief. I hesitated before placing it on the dresser, angling it toward the door. The red light blinked once. A soft pulse in the still air. I must look ridiculous, I murmured. My voice startled me. I told myself I was humoring that young woman downstairs, that it was nothing more than a strange misunderstanding. But her fear had been real. I had seen it in her hands when she passed me the keycard. I sat on the bed, my phone in hand, scrolling through Rachel's last message. "Dinner at 7, the Harbor Street Cafe. I'll be waiting." Her words were neat, polite, like they had been typed for someone else. Rain streaked the window. When I drew the curtain aside, I saw her Rachel across the street near the cafe awning, waving up at me. She looked so much older than I remembered, sharper around the eyes, dressed in a tailored gray coat. For a moment, I almost forgot the years between us. I waved back, a small motion. She smiled, held it too long, then turned away. The red light from the camera blinked again in the reflection of the window. I left it on and reached for my coat. Dinner was in an hour. Rachel was already seated when I arrived, her phone face down beside the wine glass, her posture too perfect to be casual. She stood, kissed my cheek, and said, "You look wonderful, Mom. Retirement suits you." I smiled. "It's quieter, that's all." She poured wine for both of us before I could refuse. "You deserve quiet," she said. "You've earned it after everything. Dad would be proud." Her words landed softly, but felt rehearsed, as if she'd practiced them on the train here. We ordered soup and salmon. For a while, the talk stayed light weather, books, memories we both pretended still felt warm. Then she leaned forward. "So, how's the house in Vermont? Still too big for one person." I hesitated. "It's fine, familiar. You could sell it, you know. Real estate's strong right now. I could help you find a buyer." I looked at her carefully. Why would I sell the house your father built? Her smile flickered. I'm just saying. It's a lot to manage at your age. You should think about simplifying. Something brittle passed between us. She picked up her fork, then set it down again. I worry about you, she said. I'm doing all right. She glanced at my hands. Do you still have that investment account Dad set up? The one with the municipal bonds? I folded my napkin slowly. I do. Why? Her voice softened. Just wondering if you've reviewed it lately. Markets change fast. I'm fine, Rachel. She nodded quickly. Smiling again. Of course. I just like knowing you're secure. When the waiter brought the bill, I reached for it, but he shook his head. Already taken care of, he said. Rachel handed me my coat. My company insists I use the card for business meals, she said lightly. Perks of management. I read the name printed in silver across the card she slipped back into her purse. It wasn't hers. Outside, rain shimmered under the streetlights. She offered me her umbrella. Tomorrow. Breakfast tomorrow, I said, though neither of us sounded sure. As she disappeared into the night, her smile lingered longer than it should have. The sound came just past midnight, soft, deliberate, like someone testing whether I was asleep. I sat up, heart steady but alert. Another knock followed. Mom. Rachel's voice was gentle, almost apologetic. It's me. I left something for you. I slipped out of bed, the carpet cool under my feet. Rachel, I whispered back. What is it? Her tone brightened. Just open the door. I promise it's nothing bad. I moved closer, the weight of the keychain in my pocket pressing against my palm. The red light of the webcam blinked from the dresser. I turned toward it, pulled my laptop closer, and opened the feed. Rachel stood right outside the door, one hand on her phone, her head tilted slightly as if listening. Then she whispered not to me, but into the phone pressed to her ear. Her eyes darted down the hallway. My throat tightened. I reached for the lock, then stopped. On the screen, a shadow crossed the corner of the frame. Someone else moving just out of view. Rachel nodded once toward that shadow. Mom, she called again, louder now, her voice shaking. Please, I just need to talk. I backed away from the door, forcing myself to breathe quietly. I had heard that same tremor in her voice years ago, during arguments she used to win by pretending to break. The phone in her hand glowed. She whispered again, something short, sharp. I caught one word inside. I shut the laptop, hands trembling. My instinct screamed to speak, to tell her I could hear her, to demand an explanation. Instead, I stood still, one hand over my heart, listening to her voice fade as footsteps receded down the hall. The camera's red light blinked once more against the dark. I turned it off and sat on the edge of the bed until the silence felt heavier than fear. The phone rang once, then again, the sound cutting through the dark like a pulse. I reached for it, my fingers cold. Mrs. Ellison. The voice was soft, trembling. It was the young woman from the front desk, Eliza. Please listen carefully. Someone used your ID tonight to open another account under your name. I sat up. What do you mean? Another account. There was a second reservation made an hour ago. She said, same name, same address, same credit information. The system flagged it, but when I checked, the person who used it, she looked a lot like you. My stomach turned. Are you sure? Yes, we pulled the entry log. She's still inside the hotel. I pressed my hand to my chest. The room felt smaller. What do you want me to do? Lock your door and don't leave, Eliza said quickly. We've already contacted security. They're checking the cameras now. Her voice cracked on the last word. I could hear the tremor she was trying to hide. Miss, my daughter is staying here too. Rachel Ellison. Could this be? Eliza hesitated. She was the one who checked in under your name. The silence that followed didn't feel real. I could hear my own breathing. Shallow, uneven. She said she was helping you. Eliza continued. Quieter now. That you'd forgotten your wallet. That she needed to confirm something for you. I gripped the phone until my knuckles ached. And you believed her. I did. I'm sorry, but I saw the alert afterward. Please, Mrs. Ellison, stay where you are. I managed to thank you, though it came out as a whisper. The line clicked dead. In the faint reflection of the window, I saw myself, gray hair loose, eyes wide and behind me. The red light of the camera blinking steady as a heartbeat. I sat on the bed, the phone still in my hand, Eliza's voice echoing through my mind. The air in the room felt heavy, the kind that pressed against your ribs. I opened the laptop and brought up the camera feed. The screen flickered, then steadied. The recording had started around 10:30, just after I'd turned off the lights. At first, nothing, just the slow movement of shadows and the faint hum of the air conditioner. Then the door handle turned. Rachel stepped inside. She moved carefully, glancing around like someone entering a stranger's home. Her hair was pinned up, her coat still on. She closed the door quietly and pulled something from her pocket, a hotel key card. Mine. I felt my chest tighten as she crossed to the desk and opened my purse. She didn't hesitate. Her hands went straight to the folder I had carried for years, the one with old account statements and documents from the Vermont house. She spread them out, snapping pictures with her phone. Her movements were fast, efficient. Not a daughter visiting her mother, someone working under orders. A voice came from the hallway, a woman's voice, calm and low. Hurry, we don't have much time. Rachel froze, then whispered back, I told you she'd keep it with her, just give me a second. The voice replied, you said she wouldn't have cameras. Rachel's shoulders stiffened. She looked straight at the lens for a heartbeat, unaware it was recording. Then she whispered, she's old, not stupid. I pressed a hand to my mouth, trying not to make a sound. She gathered the papers, shoved them back into the purse, and left as quietly as she'd come. The recording ended there. I sat staring at the frozen image of her face, my daughter. My blood caught between fear and calculation. The voice outside hadn't sounded like a stranger. It had sounded like someone who knew Rachel, someone she trusted. I closed the laptop slowly, every movement deliberate. My hands shook, but my mind felt painfully clear. Rachel wasn't just in trouble. She was a part of something, and I was the tool she had chosen to use. Outside, the hallway creaked. I reached for the phone again, but stopped halfway. The sound wasn't from a stranger. It was her voice closer now, calling softly through the door. The knock came hard this time, shaking the door against its frame. I didn't move. My laptop was still open on the bed, the last frame frozen. Rachel's face caught mid-breath, her eyes full of something that looked like regret and calculation at once. Mom, her voice cracked. Please, open the door. I just need to explain. I stepped closer but didn't touch the lock. You were in my room, Rachel. Silence, then a whisper. I didn't take anything. I saw you. I said, on camera. Her breath hitched, then steadied. You don't understand. They made me. She stopped herself, pressing her palm against the door. Mom, I just need one paper from your folder, then I can fix everything. I'm calling security. Her tones snapped like dry wood. You owe me. You always did. The words struck harder than the knocking. I gripped the phone, my hand trembling. I owe you nothing but love, I said quietly. And you sold that, too. The handle rattled violently. You think you were such a saint? She shouted. You let Dad die thinking I was the disappointment. You never once tried to understand why I had to leave. Tears blurred my sight. But I didn't open the door. I tried every day. I said, her breathing turned ragged. Just give me the account access. Mom, I can make it right. You don't have to lose anything. Neither do you, I whispered. If you stop now. She slammed her hand against the door. I can't stop. I pressed the front desk button on the phone. Eliza, it's Mrs. Ellison. She's here. Eliza's voice came back sharp. Urgent. Stay put. Security's on their way. Don't speak to her again. The pounding stopped. The hall fell silent except for the faint echo of Rachel's sobs, fading into distance. Then, somewhere below, sirens began to rise thin at first, then closer, growing into the sound of everything breaking at once. I sat on the carpet, back to the door, my heart heavy and certain. The lock held, but something deeper inside me had already opened. The hallway filled with footsteps, voices layered over one another, commands, questions, the sound of radios crackling. I stood by the door, listening. Then Rachel's voice cut through it all. I just wanted a chance. I opened the door a few inches. 2 officers held her by the arms, guiding her toward the elevator. Her hair was tangled, her coat half-buttoned, eyes wide with fury, and something else pleading. Mom, tell them, she cried. Tell them I wasn't stealing from you. I was trying to fix it. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed around every word. One of the officers looked at me briefly, then nodded to another standing by the door. They led her away. Her voice echoed down the corridor until the elevator doors shut. Eliza appeared at the end of the hall, her uniform jacket buttoned wrong, her face pale. She walked slowly toward me. Mrs. Ellison, she said softly. They found everything on her phone, your documents, credit data, the account information. She was using your name to cover an ongoing fraud investigation. I met her eyes, steady but hollow. She's my daughter, I said. Eliza's voice faltered. I know. I'm sorry. I nodded once. The weight in my chest didn't lift. It settled deeper. Something that wouldn't leave, even with air. Down the hall, one of the officers called back. We'll need your statement, ma'am. Eliza reached for my hand, but I stepped past her. I'll come, I said quietly. The elevator opened again, empty now, the air still trembling from what had been taken away. I stepped inside, my reflection fractured in the metal walls, my tears slow, unhidden. Morning came quietly, as if the city itself was ashamed of the night before. The police had cleared the hallways. The air smelled faintly of coffee and rain. I sat in a small conference room near the lobby, a detective's recorder blinking between us. Mrs. Ellison, he said gently, we've reviewed the evidence. Your daughter used your identification to create false accounts and access your credit line. Do you wish to press full charges? The question hung in the air. I folded my hands on the table, my knuckles pale. If I say no, I asked, does she learn anything? The detective met my eyes. She'll walk, at least for now. I looked down at the papers in front of me, my name printed over and over, each form a quiet wound. Then yes, I said finally, maybe this is how she'll stop falling. He nodded once, switched off the recorder, and offered me a moment alone. I stayed seated after he left, the silence pressing in. Back in my room, the bed was still unmade. My laptop waited on the desk. I opened it and replayed the recording one last time. Rachel appeared in the doorway, the same moment I had watched before. But this time, I saw it differently. Her movements were hurried. Yes, but her face, there was fear there, not malice. Her eyes darted toward the hall as if someone was watching her, pushing her forward. When the clip ended, I closed the lid slowly. My reflection lingered in the black screen gray hair, tired eyes, and the faint trace of a woman who still loved the person who had betrayed her. The red light on the camera was off now. I left it that way. Spring came late that year in Vermont. The air still carried a trace of winter, and the trees outside my window looked reluctant to bloom. I spent the first week after Boston fixing small things around the house, anything to keep my hands busy. The new porch light arrived in a small cardboard box. I installed it myself. Slow and careful. The wires fit neatly. The switch clicked into place. And when I turned it on, a soft golden light spread across the steps. It didn't flicker. It simply stayed. In the kitchen, the mail sat unopened until one envelope caught my eye. The handwriting was neat, unfamiliar. Inside was a short note from Eliza. "You did everything a mother could. I hope you rest easier now." I held the paper for a long time. Her words didn't feel like comfort. They felt like permission to stop blaming myself for what love couldn't fix. As evening settled, I made tea and stood by the door, watching the porch glow against the dark. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel like punishment. I stepped outside, the boards creaking under my slippers. The yard smelled of damp earth and pine. Somewhere far off, a train passed. Its sound low and familiar. I looked up at the porch light, steady and warm, and whispered into the cool night, "Come home when you can, Rachel, just not like before." The words left my mouth like a prayer, one meant for no one and for her all the same. I turned back toward the house, leaving the door unlocked and the light burning. It was not forgiveness. It was not surrender. It was simply love, quiet, watchful, and still shining.